Hi, we're Kristina and Matt. Retired, living off-grid, and traveling in our converted camper van, Clarity. We share a love of each other, of nature, and of living simply and affordably. Join us as we seek out ways to appreciate this beautiful world we all inhabit together. After collaborating with Exploring Alternatives on our house, we got some questions about why vertical glass and why didn't we do a section of glass on the inside separating the living space from the greenhouse space from the solar windows. So we're going to attempt to explain that to you.
So why vertical glass? Well, the first thing I did when I wanted to build a self-sustaining home is that I went and I toured a bunch of houses, particularly Earthship-style houses, because that's what I was attracted to. And the first thing I noticed about the houses that had the sloped glass fronts is that they were just too hot for me. And the reason that they were too warm for me is that it didn't block the summer sun completely from coming into the house. With vertical glass, you can completely control that summer sun with an overhang or an eave, and you can completely keep the summer sun from coming into the house and warming it up. The other thing I noticed in these houses, that the sloped glass in the greenhouse area was completely streaked, mostly from the rain or possibly from snow sliding down it, and that it was almost impossible to clean it. The other thing I noticed with sloped glass was most of them didn't have insulated blinds on them. So when you have that much glass across your house, it's wonderful for bringing in the sun, but at night you want to cover up those windows and keep all of that heat from escaping. And so you really need to have insulated blinds, and it's really hard to install those on a sloped glass. Ventilation in these houses is really important because it's all done passively. And I wanted to have windows that I could open wide and really get a lot of breeze and air movement through the house. And that's much easier to do on a vertical window.
In the earlier Earthship designs, they did not have an interior wall of glass separating the living space from the greenhouse. And I can see why they added that, because that sloped glass makes it so hot in the summer, and then in the winter it would also be really cold because you can't really insulate that very well. So putting another row of glass in there between the living space separates you from those extreme temperatures. But in our case, we just kept those extreme temperatures from being an issue by making vertical glass that we can shade in the summer to keep the heat out and then put blinds on in the winter, as Kristina already said. The other main reason that we don't want that here is because it's expensive, and it basically makes that whole front section of the house, the sunny section of the house, unusable for anything except a greenhouse and a hallway, and the expense just wasn't worth it for us. Typically, I think about a third of the square footage ends up being greenhouse that's not really usable for anything else. And that seems like a pretty expensive greenhouse to me. And also, glass is pretty expensive. So putting in that whole extra row of glass just brings the cost up.
One of the biggest reasons that I didn't want to have a separating wall between the living space and my indoor garden is that I love plants. I love having them part of an open floor plan where I can easily access them. Now, having an indoor greywater planter and all these plants adds humidity to the house. And in the summer, that is really ideal because we live in a very arid climate. And it was one of the reasons that I felt like I could move back to an arid climate if I had a house like this where it wasn't so dry inside. This has been an extreme winter, and we haven't been able to open up the house as much and ventilate it, and the humidity has gotten a bit high. So we really have to keep an eye on that and keep it down. We're standing out here in some glorious sunshine, surrounded by clouds. But one of my favorite sounds here is, can you just hear all that water? That's snow melting into the gutters and running into our cisterns. I just love it. My desire to contribute and my passion for living lightly, simply, and affordably have led me to not only write a book about my journey to create an off-grid home, but to also create a one-stop resource website for anyone interested in self-sufficient living and home design. To find out more, visit sustainablehomeresource.com or find the link in the description below this video.
Well, those of you who are really interested in why vertical glass in our Earthship style home, I hope that answered your question. Now let's go get on with our day.
Today is not Matt's exact birthday, but we tend to celebrate it all month long. And so...
Because I'm worth it.
He is worth it. So we have some presents for him this morning, and I think they might come in handy today.
Here we go. I'm guessing this has to be photography related because it'll come in handy today. Can't read it from there, but it says GoPro. I'm guessing this is that GoPro 11 I've been jonesing for. Yeah, so it's not only the Hero Black 11, but it's the Hero Black 11 Creator Edition. So what's so special about the Creator Edition? Let's find out. This is an extended battery tripod. So literally, can pull that out, use it as a tripod, and plug it in and get much more extended battery life, and it's a handle at the same time. Pretty cool.
One of the reasons I'm so excited about this Creator Edition GoPro is that it has a microphone. And Matt has been starting to do a lot of our A-roll using the GoPro, and there's not much control over the audio. So having a microphone is going to make my editing job much easier. Because of course it's all about me.
It is such a beautiful morning out here. Oh my gosh. Look at this. With just a smattering of snow, it's just gorgeous. So one thing about this GoPro Creator Edition, it adds so many things to the GoPro, I can no longer just stick it in my pocket. So it's going to change my entire orientation with how I hike with it. Something fun to play with. Oh yeah, you're such a good boy, aren't you?
You know, Matt's talking about his new GoPro, but all of this new gear is changing the workflow, and just working with these bigger cameras and heavier cameras, I've got to figure out a whole new way to take this beast hiking.
We talked about skiing today, and then I got this great camera, and it's late, and we're not getting an early start, and it's already 37 degrees here, and so I think maybe we'll go skiing tomorrow and just enjoy what we're doing today. This is so beautiful out here, and we're just wanting to enjoy the cameras and get some good shots and take advantage of the sun. Jessie wanted to go for a walk, and he's being so patient waiting for us to take photos.
Jessie is like the perfect photographer's buddy. I take him out walking all the time with my camera, and he's so patient. He just sits there and looks around and waits for me. It's really fun having him along.
Yeah, I do think he just is happy to be outside.
Yeah.
There's so much mud in this one spot. We had to find a way to walk around it. It sort of works.
Look at this. It's just a goo pit.
Ew, mud.
Here in Colorado, we don't really have spring, we have mud season.
So much fun to play with the different perspectives with Kristina with her zoom lens and professional quality photography, and then me being able to capture things with this at a totally different perspective is really fun. Capturing mud without lying in it.
That's just for Matt's side of the pizza.
Did you notice the cranberries in there from last night's pizza? We had a caramelized onion pizza with balsamic vinegar and cranberries last night with smoked goat cheese. It was so good. And now we're having a pesto pizza.
Hot.
I mentioned earlier that I was going to start putting the van back together because we're really jonesing to get out and travel. First thing I have to do is vacuum all the dirt and dog hair out of it before I start putting things back together. Okay, got the power turned on. And I just turned on the fan just to make sure the heater fan is working. Can hear it. Got the propane turned on and looks like we got plenty of pressure in there. Should be a brand new tank. I think that's everything there. Now I can actually put the bikes back in and fill it with water to make sure things don't leak. Shit. This is the first time this has happened. Nothing is leaking from what I did before, but I've got a leak coming out the water heater itself, which means I must have a freeze plug or something in there, or the tank broke. That's never happened. I've had this thing now for 3 winters and I've never had a problem with the water heater, so I had a high confidence in that. And unfortunately, that confidence was overrated. So what I'm worried about is I had the power on to the heater and now all this water leaked right down onto that heater, so I'm just hoping it hasn't destroyed the heater by getting wet in there in the circuitry. Shit. Well, I had to scramble to get that water cleaned up to try and keep it off of the heater. And the good news is there was not a drop that made it inside the circuitry of the heater. And so the heater is working fine. I was able to get that water heater off of there. And I did discover that there was probably 2.5 gallons of water in there. So blowing it out doesn't blow out the water out of the water heater. And so the good news is, although it's an expense I wasn't planning on, I'm going to find a water heater that has a drain in it so I can winterize the van. And so this shouldn't happen again. And I'm going to try and find one that's propane so that I'm not using as much power. So the other good news is I can go to dance class tonight. Yeah, we can't bring you along to the class because, of course, you know, we have to get everybody's permission before we can film people. But we're just helping teach this swing class, and it's a really fun thing to do. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so I just wanted to follow up with you on what happened with the water heater. Yes, the water heater is definitely broken, and I was able to get a replacement for it. It's going to be here the day after tomorrow. So that replacement is $180. After looking around and seeing what other options are out there for water heaters, this is just the most compact and functional for the situation we have in the van, and then I'll be able to just put it right back in where it came out of. So that'll happen in a couple of days. I think we're going to end this video here, and thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.